So what are ecological interactions? Ecological interactions are the effects organisms in a community have on one another. Individual organisms live together in an ecosystem and depend on one another. In fact, they have many different types of interactions with each other, and many of these interactions are critical for their survival. Ecological interactions are classified as intraspecific interactions, interspecific interactions, harmonious interactions, and inharmonious interactions. These are the types of interactions and its effects. Mutualism. It is an interaction between two organisms which benefits both species. It also called symbiosis. This relationship is essential for the survival of at least one member. Example for this is the plover bird cleaning the mouth of crocodile. Next is commensalism. It is an interspecific relationship between two organisms where one species benefits while the other species remains unaffected. For example, remora fish have a disc on their heads that makes them able to attach to larger animals, such as sharks, mantas, and whales. When the larger animal feeds, the remora detaches itself to eat the extra food. After that, we have neutralism. It is the most common type of interspecific interaction. Neither population affects the other. Examples of true neutralism are virtually impossible to prove, and most ecologists would agree that this concept does not exist. Here are the rabbits, deers, frogs live together in grassland with no interaction between them. Next, we have amensalism. Any relationship between organisms of different species in which one organism is inhibited or destroyed, while the other organism remains unaffected. Amensalism has two modes, antibiosis and competition. In antibiosis, one organism is unaffected, but the other is harmed or killed, while competition, each species affected negatively. There are two different types of competition. Intraspecific competition occurs between members of the same species. For example, two male birds of the same species might compete for mates in the same area. Interspecific competition occurs between members of different species. For example, predators of different species might compete for the same prey. Lastly, we have predation and parasitism. One species benefits, one is disadvantaged. Examples are bear and berry, rabbit and lettuce, grasshopper and leaf. With the different types of species interactions, it can be observed that it involves one population being influenced by another. When individuals of two species share a common limited resource, resource limitations can influence the probability of survival and reproductions for individuals of both species. Thus, the collective properties of birth and death at the population level can influence the dynamics of the respective population.
Natural selection can also be known as survival of the fittest. Climate and environmental change is the leading agent of natural selection. However, interactions with other species can be an agent of natural selection. A bird will act as an agent of natural selection for certain plants. They look for seeds that are smaller and easier to eat rather than look for seeds that are bigger and harder to eat. The plants with the small seeds will have their seeds eaten more and eventually they will die out. Flowers that can attract more pollinators will have better success when pollinating. Flowers that are not attractive are left alone and won't be able to reproduce. the less attractive flowers will eventually die out. Species can be spread throughout a large geographic area, and depending on the area, they will be exposed to a different environment and ecosystem. Their appearances and behavior can also vary due to this. It can be seen in humans. People in tropical regions tend to have darker skin since the sunlight is stronger there. Dark skin helps in protecting the body against UV rays. People in areas where the sunlight is not as strong don't need that much protection from UV rays, therefore have lighter skin. The consequence is if they get exposed to too much sun, their skin may burn. Another example where environments affect the organism would be poison dart frogs. They are known to be one of the most toxic species of frogs in the world. They acquire their toxicity through their diet. Their toxins will have different effects and lethality since they are found in different locations, thus having different diets. Poison dart frogs grown in captivity never develops poison due to not being fed with their normal diets. Species interactions can be diffuse. A flower can have multiple pollinators. It can be different kinds of bees, birds, butterflies, and bats. Corals can also accommodate many species of fish. Trees can give shelter to multiple species of monkeys and birds.
Species may be described in terms of the range of physical and chemical conditions under which it persists. This characterization of species is referred to as its ecological niche. The concept of ecological niche was developed independently by two ecologists, Joseph Grinnell and Charles Elton. Grinnell's definition centered on the concept of habitat, while Elton emphasized the role of species and its interaction with its community. The limnologist G. Evelyn Hutchinson expanded the concept by proposing the idea as a multi-dimensional space called a hypervolume, a three-dimensional niche defined by temperature, salinity, and pH. Hutchinson referred to fundamental niche as a set of environmental conditions under which a species can persist. However, a population's response to the environment may be modified by interactions with other species. This is called the realized niche, which are basically restrictions caused by other species such as competition that prevents the population to thrive. A good example demonstrating fundamental and realized niche is with these two species of cattails, Typha latifora and Typha angustifolia. Both these cattail species can thrive and grow in shallow waters without the other species, but if grown together along the same shoreline, T. latifolia will thrive on the shallower part, while Typha angustifolia will thrive on the deeper part. Scientists have been appreciating more positive interactions. Interactions such as commensalism and mutualism can function to expand the range of environmental conditions or resources under which a species can persist. In these cases, the realized niche of the species is greater than that of the fundamental niche. Adaptive radiation is a process by which one species gives rise to multiple species that exploit different features of the environment. Different environmental features lead to different selective pressures, which then leads to phenotypic divergence. Phenotypic divergence can cause speciation, which is often a byproduct of changes in morphology, behavior, or habitat preferences of the said species. An example of adaptive radiation due to resource competition is with the species of globe flower fly, Chiastochita. These flies lay eggs on globe flower, but the different species differ in the timing of egg laying. One species lay eggs in one-day-old flowers, while others lay eggs on flowers of any lifespan. This behavior is the result of intraspecific competition within the species. Speciation occurred to minimize competition, resulting to the differences of timing of egg laying. Adaptive radiation can result from divergent adaptations to avoid predators. This is displayed in stick insects Timema christinae. Two distinct ecotypes of this species feed on two different host plants, Cyanothus and Adenostoma. These insects blend with their corresponding plant hosts to avoid detection from possible predators.